What is up, Home League Podcast, where there is no you in league. Week 15, round one of the playoffs, season 12, regular season in the books. 5 of you are eliminated. 7 of us move on. That's right, us. I'm in the playoffs. The regular season standings are done. I'm speechless. I don't even know where to go. I'm nervous. I'm excited. I'm ready to go. All right, let's bring up that rundown. Let's cut that music. All right, let me make me a little smaller here. All right. So, week 14, we'll go over the results. We'll talk prediction leaderboard. We'll take a look at where that rounded out. We'll look at our crowns and clowns, and then we will get into the Fraud Watch, and it's the finale of Fraud Watch. We'll see what those median score records looked like. After that, I will just kind of highlight some Season 12 stuff. We'll go over some different notes. We'll go over some different data that I've got pulled up, nothing too formal. And then I'm going to highlight some key games for Round 1. And then in a separate video, I'm going to link out to Glenn's Round 1 predictions and a little bit of an interview with our regular season first place finisher. He gets that bye. He's off this week, and he gets to watch the rest of us as we squirm to see if we move on or if our season ends just 1 week after those who did not make the playoffs. So without any more, let's get into those week 14 results. Right, so a crazy week. A lot of things on the line for a lot of different teams. We'll start in the order I've got them here. Myself versus Dan. This matchup largely predicted who was going to be the 3rd or 6th place finisher. Really not much room to go anywhere else. And ultimately, Ned's team, led by Jalen Hurts, has a week. And I have my best week of the year. Hopefully it was not for nothing. Josh Allen goes for 37. Saquon goes for a long touchdown, which looked like last year. Puka Nacua goes for 2 touchdowns. Jesse predicted that. And Tesla finds the end zone. He has like 6 catches on the year, and 4 of them are touchdowns. So that pushes me into at least 3rd place, but some scenarios had me looking and sniffing at that 2nd place finish. Moving along, we have Glenn versus Brendan. This didn't really matter. It did help Glenn lock up that 1st place finish, which ultimately he did need that extra W. Stafford, just another great 3 touchdown day. CeeDee Lamb has a great day before getting knocked out. A.J. Brown continues to do well. Brock Bowers finds the end zone, and Travis Etienne goes a little crazy against who they play in Indianapolis. Then we had another kind of meaningless matchup. It was Nick versus Jesse. Nick does the bold thing, starts 2 Rams running backs, works out tremendously. They both find the end zone at least one time. He gets the victory over Jesse. And then we had Steve versus Jimmy, our commissioner, versus a team that both teams at risk of missing the playoffs due to another matchup where the winner potentially could have more points than them with the same record. So both of these owners knew that there was a lot on the line. Unfortunately, Steve's team really just kind of caps off their second half of the year. We'll call it fall off. Jimmy surges, sees a good day. Another good score from Michael Wilson. And then obviously Jahmyr Gibbs with an explosion of just 43 yards, but 3 touchdowns on the ground. So that one pushes Steve down, tied with Bill, or at least even with Bill. Jimmy gets the key victory to lock in a playoff spot. And then our next matchup, Bill gets the win over Evan. Evan put up a decent start with his QB doing okay and Swift doing all right, but the rest of the team really could not provide anything. Couldn't get anything going. Pretty much everybody without a touchdown and under 50 yards. But on Bill's side, he has his trio of running backs without Christian McCaffrey carry him. He has Devon Achane go off. He has Woody Marks and Bucky Irving both play very well. And then a good day from DK Metcalf, enough to launch Bill into the playoffs as the 7th seed. He eliminates Steve. And then our last matchup, Tyler versus Ryan. Big matchup here for where the seeding ended up. Ryan with a chance to move all the way up to the 2nd seed. Tyler with a chance to fall out and I think potentially go down even to just the 3rd seed. So really big for playoff matchups. Looking at Bill's team, looking at that 7th seed, kind of having that locked in. Unfortunately, on Monday night, Quentin Johnson and Kamani Vidal just could not get enough going to overtake Tyler. He had a great day from T. Higgins and another really good week from Christian Watson. Interestingly enough, there was a blunder here. Had Ryan started Harold Fanning at tight end over Brenton Strange, would have pushed him up. I have the math here. Would have pushed him up to 88.68 for his score. Would have gotten him the win. And the big question is, would it have put him 2nd in the standings? And it, in fact, would have. Or I'm sorry, no, he would not have gotten 2nd in the standing. I outscored him by 30.56. I needed to outscore him by like 21. So I would have, even with Harold Fanning in there, I would have gotten up to the 2nd seed. Ryan, I believe, then would have dropped down to the 3rd or something like that. I didn't think about it that long. But ultimately, it doesn't matter. Just a blunder. But could it be a blunder blessing? Who knows? All right, that is our Week 14 results. Kick it over to the prediction leaderboard. All right, so Jesse last week with a good week. He gets 4 out of 6 predictions for the matchup predictions right. Puts him up in the upper half here. And then on the touchdown, I'm giving Jesse 2nd place. And here's why. I give him 3.5. He said that Puka Nacua might score even 2 touchdowns after taking him to score 1, and Puka Nacua did score 2 touchdowns. So I'm giving him half a point there. He gets 3.5 as a little tiebreaker over Steve. Does not beat Jimmy, though. Jimmy is our anytime touchdown champion for this year. Congratulations, Jimmy. And Nick, you are our guru. Maybe you should host next year. 6 out of 6 on the matchup predictions. All right, if I do the pod again, we'll not do this section again. That was so stupid. All right, crowns and clowns. Very interesting week. Not really. I take it over for the team, getting my first team crown of the year, just in the nick of time, led by Josh Allen again with those 37 points. Rillo gets the crown at running back after his bold double Ram start. Love to see it. Ty is carried by Christian Watson and T. Higgins to get the wide receiver crown. And Glenn takes it for tight end and flex with, I don't know who he has for tight end right now, but he had Travis Etienne, who scored 20 points in flex. On the clown side, another rough week for Brendan. He gets the team clown for the 2nd straight week. He gets the QB clown for the 2nd straight week. Not quite his fault with Daniel Jones going down on IR. However, you kind of had to know what you were doing, starting the guy with a fractured fibula. On the running back side, it goes to Evan. Same thing with wide receivers. That goes to Evan. And then Tyler pops out with the clown at the tight end and flex position. He is missing Brock Bowers. All right, those are our clowns and crowns. Let's head into Fraud Watch. Alrighty. So for Fraud Watch, we've got everybody gets up to 28 now instead of those 14. So Glenn, right on cue. He gets 10-4 for his head-to-head, 10-4 against the median score. Finishes out with a top record of 20-8. Tyler right behind him, just one less head-to-head win, but one more median score win, gets 20-8. Bill 7-7 head-to-head, but 12-2. He is the median score champion. He would have, if we had combined those, he would have been 19-9. I come in at 17-11, beating out Ryan and Jimmy at 16-12. Steve lands at 14-14, while Dan drops to 13-15 after last week. Had the median score mattered, could we see Steve's team in the playoffs over Dan? I don't know how we'd work that out. Nick finishes up at 11-17, Brendan 9-19, Jesse at 8-20, and Evan, our last place in head-to-head, and tied for our worst median score record, finishes out at 7-21. All right, so we can see. Maybe we want to get into this later or next year. Maybe we want to start giving some people some of the benefit of the doubt when their points against get a little crazy, or if they're scoring a lot but still losing. But obviously just an interesting thing to watch. All right, let's go over to a couple of other notes. So real quick, I'm going to scroll out of this. If you want to pause, you can take a look at what everyone else would have for a record with your schedule. Bill, kind of the funny one, 7-7, pretty much, yeah, that was the worst record he possibly could have had. So pretty crazy to watch. And then Dan, again, those two have just been the interesting ones here. I might need to move myself a little bit. Nope. Dan, where the heck is that guy? Oh, right there. 8-6. That was the best record he could have had. So very interesting. Bill finishes with the worst record he could have had. Dan with the best. All right, I'm going to scroll over a little bit. So just kind of more, interesting developments here. This is what the head-to-heads would have been if you had faced every team every week. Tyler gets 111 wins, just 43 losses. Bill with 105 and 49, then a little bit of a drop-off to Glenn at 97 and 57. Bigger drop-off to me at 86 and 68. And then I just clip out Ryan and Jimmy and Steve. And then after that, big drop-off. Ned down to 64 and 90. And then pretty much looks the same as the last chart we just looked at. So just kind of interesting. I was trying to find overall Clowns and Crowns leaders to see who maybe scored the most points, by position in their actual lineups. But figure we can take a look at this. This is just the for total points at quarterback. Josh Allen finishes up number 1, Pat Mahomes 2, Dak 3, Stafford 4, Drake May 5. These guys were basically free on the draft board. Jalen Hurts down at 6, Caleb Williams at 7, Herbert, Nix, Goff, Jones, Love, Lawrence, Mayfield, Darnold, and then you get to Lamar Jackson. So pretty crazy. Joe Burrow obviously just really not on this list. So really weird year at QB, pretty top heavy, but definitely some room in the draft to have gotten some value. And then looking at points per game, Jameis Winston is hilariously up there. Just looking at points per game, Pat Mahomes still up in that top 3, Dak, and then kind of again same group here. Going over to running back, looking at total, we can see Jonathan Taylor did hold on to that number 1 spot. Jahmyr Gibbs, number 2. Bills running back, CMC and Devon Achane at 3 and 4. Bijan and Javonte at 5 and 7. Pretty impressive from Ty there. James Cook obviously snuck up, was not drafted as the RB5. He was drafted more like the RB12, 13. So interesting finishes here. Obviously, Rico Dowdle does better than Saquon Barkley. Pretty crazy. I had both of them on my roster week 1. Genty does beat Quinshon Judkins by just a little bit. Chase Brown way down here. Obviously, that's a bit disappointing for him. Kenneth Walker, same thing. So a lot of rookies in that group. And then again, looking at if my mouse wants to cooperate, average by game, Taylor still takes it. Gibbs right behind him. CMC, kind of the same list. Wide receiver gets a little bit interesting with total points. JSN, George Pickens, Puka. Man, you could have had Puka Nacua and Devonta Adams and been fine. Jamar Chase stuck around at number 6. Drake London, A.J. Brown even in there for total points. Jameson Williams pops up, even though he kind of struggled in the beginning of the year. And then average points per game played. Rashee Rice jumps up. Drake London jumps up. Obviously, Drake London missed a ton of time. Rashee Rice with a suspension. CeeDee Lamb up there after missing some time. Christian Watson with a late surge. Nico Collins, again, missed time. So, pretty interesting list. And then for tight end, tight end, Trey McBride finishes as the number 1 tight end overall. Tucker Kraft, who probably would have finished number 1, is still number 2 in average points per game. Let's see where he's at for that. He's still in the top 10. Dallas Goedert, Hunter Henry, Jake Ferguson, Tyler Warren, and then Brock Bowers at 3. Travis Kelce, number 2 in total tight end points. So good for him, keeping his career alive. All right, that's pretty much all I've got for this stuff. I don't think this will show me anything. Yeah, we're already in. All right, so let's go through some key games for this week. We've got 4 people going tonight in the Thursday Night Football Bucs-Falcons. We've got Baker Mayfield for Ryan, and then in Bill and Ty's matchup, we've got Emeka Mbuka, Bijan Robinson, I believe, and then Bill will have Bucky Irving. So big matchup tonight for those 2 matchups. Let's see. We got a lot of Eagles, a lot of Ravens. I didn't really do a good job preparing for this part. A lot of Chiefs. Chiefs matchup against Chargers will be big for Dan and myself. 3 players going in that one. And then Detroit and LA will be a big one. We've got Gibbs going for Detroit. We've got Goff going for Detroit. And then on the LA side, the team is eliminated. And then on the LA side, we've got Puka Nacua. We've got Devonta Adams. So going to be an interesting week for sure. All right, so everything's caught up. That was the week 14 week in review. and a little bit of just some season 12 recap. Maybe we'll do something at the end of the year. Probably not. But that's where we're at. So stick around, click on the next video. You can watch me and Glenn talk about his season and talk about predictions for this round, for round one, since he's not in. Yeah, so he predicts each of the matchups for round one. All right, see you later. Click on that video.